Well, thank you very much for inviting me today, and thank you for all coming to hear about hair health. So I'm honoured that you're here, and very special that it's my first talk with Ginger Fig is in Guards Polo Club, because I have always been a fan of polo and did dabble with it a little bit. I really wanted to play it properly. I just had a couple of lessons and. But yeah, so I was like, and I live only down the road in Ascot, so I do have my clinic. My main clinic is in Ascot, as you mentioned earlier. I'm also in Harley Street. I have Liverpool and Essex as well, if anyone has any friends or family that need to go there. But yeah, so it's great. I don't know if you know much about Trichologist, but let me just explain about me first and my background. So I actually started off my professional career as a nurse, so many years ago, and I was a general nurse when I did my general nurse training. But as soon as I finished my general nurse training, then I specialised almost immediately into women's health. And I was a very senior nurse in women's health and worked in Elizabeth Garrett Anderson Hospital and Queen Charlotte's Hospital. So they're like the most renowned women's hospitals in the world. So very special that I had that kind of background. And it was whilst I was doing that I then really started training to be a trichologist. So I was running the wards at the same time as starting to train to be a trichologist. And I was actually never interested in hair at all to begin with. Really, it wasn't. I was always interested in health and wellness, and that is still what I'm really interested in. I am interested in hair now because that's what I do. And now I have a super interest in hair because I just can't help looking at people's hair now. So yes, I am very interested in it now, but that's how I got into it in the first instance. Was for me, hair is a reflection of your health and your wellness. And that's how I like to get people to regrow their hair, is by getting them to be as healthy and as happy as possible. So I really like to get to the root cause of the problem. So I treat things very differently. I have a very different approach than of a trichologist. And I did write this book, How to Keep Your Hair On. So it's the ultimate guide for women. It was actually published in 2016, but a lot of it's still relevant today. So the products have changed. I've got much more products that are in there now. So is there anything else I need to tell you about my background? Well, then when I mentioned more about I was a senior nurse in women's health, and then I was studying to be a trichologist. But then I decided that I actually didn't want to be so specialised in women's health. So then I went back to kind of general. So I went then from there to work as a nurse advisor for NHS Direct, if you remember NHS Direct. So I did that. It was a really great learning curve, learned so much about so many other things. And then from there, I then went into work as a nurse practitioner in GP surgery. And I worked primarily for 5 years in a GP surgery that was attached to UCL, the university, up in London. So only a few yards away from the hospital where I used to work. And as I said, I was having a dual career. So I was doing my trichology and I was doing my nursing at the same time. And I was just reducing my nursing hours more and more as my trichology was kind of beginning to take over. And then eventually I went from 2 days a week nursing to a huge decision to give it up because I loved it. But eventually I gave up my nursing. And that was back in 2008, that then I started focusing only on my trichology. So I've actually been a trichologist now for nearly 30 years, and I was a nurse for 10 years before I did the trichology. So, yeah, I know I don't look old enough. My products are actually anti-aging, so yeah, so you can. I won't tell you how old I am, but yeah, we'll keep that quiet. So, I don't know if you know what a trichologist is. I've been talking about trichology, but a lot of people actually, when I tell people what I do, and people think I said psychologist, not trichologist, and a lot of people just never heard of a trichologist at all. But a trichologist is generally someone that specialises in hair health, and it can be scalp problems too. So it usually covers scalp and hair issues. So I did my training with the Institute of Trichologist many, many years ago, and it was a very tough course at the time. And when I first qualified, there was very few trichologists in the world, very, very few. Nowadays, there seems to be quite a few. It seems to be like they're producing quite a lot more trichology, and it's becoming much more popular kind of field to get into. So it's just worth knowing that not all trichologists are equal, that you really have to kind of check people's backgrounds and see, well, what kind of training have they got, what kind of experience do they have. And the problem is that anybody could really call themselves a trichologist. So yeah, you really need to check, well, where did they do their training, how long have they been practicing for? And a lot of hairdressers will call themselves a trichologist when they've literally probably just done a weekend course or something. So just watch out for that. I do work very differently from other trichologists because I'm very, very thorough. As I said, I like to get to the root cause of the problem. So I like to get people's blood tests and analyse those. And I get everything beforehand. So before they come for a consultation, I've already got, they fill in a questionnaire, so I know all of their medical history, I've got all their blood results, and then that can maximise the time that they spend with me. So I spend an hour and a half in a consultation with someone, and but I've spent like an hour beforehand, like studying everything about them before they come in, and then I spend another sort of hour or an hour and a half after they've gone to write up the treatment plan. So that's kind of how I work. And yeah, a lot of trichologists are, it's a bit like with doctors, that you can have different specialities. So some trichologists will specialise in like hair transplant surgery, or recommend like referral to people for surgery, or some trichologists will specialise in like hair pieces. So for instance, or for legal work, so a lot of, they might be seeing people that have been to a hairdresser and had some kind of hair problem, hair loss or breakage or something from a hairdresser that have done something wrong, and then they want to take them to court. I'm really not interested in that, so I leave that to other people to do that. So my main interest is in, because of my background, is in women's health and women's hair loss, and that is actually a very complex subject, which is why I don't think I do have much competition with that, because it is such a complex thing that a lot of people don't really want to be involved with that so much. I do get some, there's a transplant clinic that they don't, when they get women calling up for transplant surgery, they just like refer them straight to me because they're like, they don't want to deal with that. And hair transplants for women is actually generally not a very good idea. So with men, you can have transplant surgery quite easily, because with men, they have like a bigger area of baldness, but with women, it tends to be more of a diffuse type of a thinning. And you will get some loss of your current follicles when you're putting in transplanted hairs. So so there can be some damage done during a transplant surgery, so they really wouldn't do a woman unless they've got like an actual patch, which is like really extreme baldness. And yeah, so it's very few women that would be going down the hair transplant route. So yeah, so I specialise in, as I said, in hair loss in women mainly, but I do see people from all ages. I literally see people from children right up until their 90s. If you're one of those ladies that worries about your looks, then it doesn't matter how old you are, you're always going to be concerned about how you look. Like my mum, she's like, she does her full makeup before she leaves her bedroom in the morning, and she's not even seeing anybody all day. So if you're kind of someone like that, I think you always will be like that. If you're one of those ladies that don't care, then you're always going to be like that too. So for me, age is no barrier either, because a lot of people come to see me and they say, well, it's my age. And I'm like, no, it's not it's never your age. It's never just your age. There's always something else. Literally, age is no barrier at all to getting your hair to regrow. But having said that, the only thing I would say really is I do have a little rule that if you have lost your hair in a particular area for more than 5 years, then it's never going to regrow. So as long as you've got some kind of follicular activity, so some kind of regrowth or some shedding, as long as that's been going on and it's been happening within 5 years, then you can still regrow the hair from that area. If you have like had a patch that maybe a biopsy or something, or an old patch of alopecia, then if it's more than 5 years, then those follicles would have, unfortunately, those follicles would have died. But what I would do in those circumstances is to regrow the rest of your hair to maximise the patch that you have and minimise any further loss. So there are different types of hair loss. But yeah, so I'll show you a bit of my hair loss. Doesn't really bother me. But so I think it's on this side. You notice how much it doesn't bother me. I forget what side it's on. I think it's this side. So I have some recession here on my temple. So it's from a traction alopecia, so it goes quite far back, and on the other side, just it's not that bad. But so that was from, so it's traction alopecia. That was from all my years of being a nurse. I had very long hair, longer than now, and I used to have it tied in a really tight ponytail on the top of my head. We used to wear hats in those days. I had to put the clips in the hats, keep them on, and they were very strict about that too. And so a really, really tight ponytail with clips right there, and years of doing that, then that's caused this traction alopecia. Because I wasn't a trichologist at the time, so I didn't know about that. And by the time I knew about it, it was too late. But I said, it doesn't bother me, and because I can just put my fringe there, so I just never would wear my hair like that. So, but that's also one of the things with women and hair loss, is that you don't realise how many women actually do have a problem with hair loss, because you can put your hair in you can put a hair clip in, you can do a different hairstyle, and you can disguise that you've got a problem. So women are kind of just they're kind of suffering in silence a bit, because they don't realise that so many other women have problems with their hair because you don't talk about it. And it's kind of just this taboo subject. So it's kind of a bit embarrassing. I do find that my clients, they've really only ever told probably one other person, maybe two maximum, and sometimes no one. And I'm the first person that they've ever talked to. And then it's like there's a big release, and they're like lots of tears when they're telling me, because I'm like, oh, I haven't told anyone about this, and you know, they don't want their pictures taken, and so it's all very embarrassing, and it's quite difficult to get referrals because people won't talk about it so much. They would really have only told their sister, maybe their partner or their best friend. That's probably really just it. But yeah, so I said you don't realise how many women do have a problem with hair loss. So don't think that you're alone if you're one of those. And then I do talk about hair loss a lot, and I also just want to clarify. So a lot of people just say to me, well, I don't have hair loss. I'm just like, it's just thinning a little bit, or it's just shedding. And I'm like, or it's just finer than it used to be, or I've just got a recession at the front that I didn't used to have. And I'm like, well, that's hair loss, isn't it? But I don't know for what reason people just say they don't have hair loss. I think maybe they think that hair loss is like a literal big patch of alopecia, and it's not. It can obviously, alopecia is a form of hair loss, but most of my clients that will come to see me would just have like a more of a diffuse type thinning, or or as I said, or a recession at the temples is a fairly common thing, or at the front or the centre parting is quite common too. But it could just be a lot of excessive shedding, and actually, or you just like put your hair in a ponytail, and it's a lot thinner than it used to be. So those are all forms of hair loss. So, and even if you don't have hair loss, I mean, everybody wants like thicker, nicer hair, don't they? So everybody wants it to be in better condition and more lustrous, and it might be even unmanageable. It might have really thick hair, but just can't cope with it. That's another problem. It's like when you get the regrowth, it's like, oh no, it's really frizzy, and so that happens. But the other thing about really hair is it's why it's so important is it's so defining for our characters, and it's literally just changes everything about how you look and how you feel about yourself. So if you are having a bad hair day or whatever, then that can really affect you. And it's if you just have a different hairstyle, or just cut your hair shorter or longer, or change your colour, it just really, really affects like how you look. It can be very aging. And I find obviously it's harder also having longer hair when you get older. So it's usually more youthful to have sort of longer hair if you can manage it. So and we obviously want better pigmentation in the hair as well to have that youthful appearance, because I said, it's really aging. Other thing I really wanted to talk about was I mentioned obviously about regrowing your hair. There is a time when you can't regrow it, and that is when you have a scarring alopecia. So I mentioned before about the 5 years, and that's sort of like a form of scarring alopecia in a way. But there are some conditions which are scarring alopecias, and female frontal fibrosing alopecia is one of those conditions that unfortunately is on the rise. So a lot of ladies are getting this, and it's quite a horrible condition if you do get it. So it's when you literally go all the way right back from your eyebrows all the way back here, and you lose all of that front. So from the eyebrows up. And it's a very progressive condition, and it's a modern day phenomenon that people are getting this. It never existed before I think the first case was in the 80s, but even that was very rare. So really only since the 90s. And it's escalating, it's becoming much more common. But this frontal fibrosing alopecia, if you do get it, it is a form of scarring alopecia that it just keeps going back and back and back. But I do have very good results with that. You can't regrow hair that is from scarred follicles, but you can therefore just try to stop the further progression, and then, as I said before, like just maximise the regrowth going forward. But scarring alopecia is fairly rare, so it's still usually most people that would come to see me will be having a type of hair that you could regrow hair from. Just have to have patience with regrowing hair, because of the hair cycle. You really need to give it a good sort of, at the very minimum, 4 months, but I usually say 6 months to allow for a noticeable effect for regrowing your hair.
If you get older, then that regrowth.
Does it slow down? Oh, okay. Well, there's two different cycles really. The main cycle is your growing cycle is the anagen phase, which lasts for approximately 1,000 days. So it's around about sort of 3 years. And that does vary in individuals, and as you get older, that could vary a bit. So that's why when you're younger, you could grow your hair a lot longer than when you get older. But then the other phase is the shedding phase, which is the telogen phase, and that lasts for 100 days. So the growing phase is approximately 1,000 days. So I said that does vary. But the shedding phase, which is 100 days, so it's 3 to 4 months, that doesn't change. That's pretty much consistent throughout. And that 100 days is very, very important. And so also what you have to bear in mind is because of that 100 days, what's going on in your hair at the moment is a reflection of your life 100 days ago. So that's what people don't understand. Sorry? Yeah, so your hair now is, so if you, I would like to go, I think I put my phone on to, but I like to go into Siri, it might not work now. Siri, what was the date 100 days ago? It's not, I've got it on silence. So it's, otherwise you could have heard it, but it was Wednesday the 29th of May. So I always find that's easier than just counting. Yeah, so that's a... Yeah, exactly. So, and this is why it's really important that I take people's history. And because stress is one of those things that can cause hair loss. And the thing is that stress can be so stressful that it's caused you to have your hair loss. But then 100 days later, hopefully, you've forgotten about this thing that was so stressful that caused you to lose your hair. And that's why you have to check in your diary, what was I doing? And sometimes I have to really quiz people on that. And they were like, oh, and and they haven't told me beforehand. And I have to when they've told me when they first noticed the hair loss. So then I work back, 100 days before that. So they say to me, oh, they noticed hair loss in February. And I'm like, okay, so what were you doing in October, November? And they're like, oh, yeah, I was doing some exams or something, or yeah, my cat died or something.
It's more prolific since the 90s.
Yes.
What are we doing?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of environmental toxins. Now, I was like I love frontal fibrosis and alopecia, not because I love it, but because it's horrible. But I think I was like a pioneer in a lot of ways with how I treated frontal fibrosis and alopecia. And for me, it was always a question of the SPFs. So I was kind of telling my clients about SPFs in like your makeup and in your sun creams for a long time before it was official. So now they have done the research and they have actually identified that yes, that is a big issue. And because SPFs are in like everyone's foundation and moisturisers.
You're saying putting sunscreen on.
Sorry?
Are you saying putting sunscreen on?
Yeah, and sunscreen too. And then the problem is that it's all right to wear sunscreen when you need it. Yeah, but it causes, well, we're not entirely sure the entire mechanism of it, but there seems to be some correlation between...
Sunscreen and losing your hair?
Yes, between the SPFs. So, and the problem is that people are using it every day. I mean, it's all right if you're going on holiday or you're going to be in the sun, you can use it then. No, but they're putting it on the hairline, so it starts from the hairline and then it goes beyond that. Sorry? Yeah.
In the 80s, it probably didn't have...
No, it didn't have it. Yes. Yeah. And because there's environmental toxins, there's toxins in everything nowadays that we didn't have before. So it starts from their eyebrows as well. So, you are putting a foundation on over that area. Oh, yes, they lose it. That's why it's a classic sign of where... You can lose your eyebrows not just from frontal fibrosis and alopecia. That can also happen if you've got a thyroid issue or a bit of alopecia areata. But that's a classic sign is when they've lost their eyebrows too. I saw a lady just a couple of days ago. She was giving me a very good description of frontal fibrosis and alopecia, but she had like perfect eyebrows, so she definitely didn't have it. So that was quite good. It's always good when you don't have it. But as I said, because it is a progressive condition. But you can, I can halt it from going further. When I do my consultations, I find it's just very multifactorial. There's like so many different causes. So there are a few other causes that I do always find related to frontal fibrosis and alopecia too. So they usually always will have a low vitamin D and a high thyroid. So yeah, I always find it's very multifactorial. So that's why I like to be very thorough. It's something I learnt from my nursing days when if you identify an ectopic pregnancy in somebody, so you see a little an ectopic pregnancy, don't assume that's the only pregnancy. So they might have one actually in their uterus as well. So yeah, that was something I always just picked up. Okay, just because you identify one thing, just don't keep looking. There could be some other issues that are going on too. So yeah, that's why I like to do my blood tests. And I've got a few tips for you for how to maximise your regrowth. We can get onto some other questions later if you like. But yeah, so one of my number one tip for helping you with your hair, this surprises a lot of people, is washing your hair every day, or at least every other day. So if you can't manage that, then step it up at least. Yeah, a lot of people will come to see me that they've actually started reducing how much they're washing their hair, because it can be very upsetting when they see the shedding and they're like, yeah, but I see shedding when I wash my hair, so I don't do it so often. Or there's a lot out there that says, oh no, you really shouldn't wash your hair very often. So a lot of people say, well, my hair looks better when I wash it more often. But yes, it's a common, yes, you need your natural oils. You're stripping your hair from your natural oils. Yeah, so that's a common thing that people say. But the problem is, I mean, because you wash your face every day and your scalp, you need to look after your scalp as well. So you need to clean, because the scalp is actually very important. A lot of people just neglect their scalp, and I see people that have like horrendously flaky scalps that tolerate it for years, and it's not until they start getting hair loss that then they were just like, oh no, my hair's falling out, I better go and see someone. But yeah, you do need to look after the health of your scalp to keep those follicles nice and clear so the hairs can grow and be healthy, because you can get a build-up of dead skin cells, of dirt and pollution and dried sweat and all the toxins that are involved in dry sweat. So sweating is really good. As you should know that sweating is good because it releases toxins. That's why you go to a sauna. But then if you're like doing exercise and you go running or, you know, working out at a gym and then you get all sweaty and then you're all just sitting there in your hair, you're just like absorbing all the toxins back in, and it's kind of gone to your hair because that's where people sweat the most, and it just sits there.
So you're saying you should?
I'm saying you should wash it every day, or at least every other day. So depending on how greasy your hair is, really. No, well, that's another good question because... yeah, caveat to that is obviously you want to use good shampoos because you don't want to be using these cheap shampoos with lots of chemicals in them. And so I have my own organic range of shampoos, which has just won some awards. So very thrilled about that. So my stimulating shampoo, is this one? Yeah, so my stimulating shampoo is here. So I just won the gold award at the Natural Health Beauty Awards. So this is a gold award for the best product, not even like the best shampoo or the best hair product, like the best product. So very thrilled about that because I didn't mention, but I formulate all my products myself, and with the shampoo in particular, it took me years really to perfect a organic shampoo. It's very difficult getting organic shampoo. And a lot of people come to see me that are using organic shampoos because people are getting more aware of that. But then a lot of the organic shampoos are not washing the hair very well. So I see therefore that then they've got actually quite flaky scalps, and yeah, they're not very... Yeah, they do. My shampoo does lather quite well, actually. For an organic shampoo, it does have a nice lather. But yeah, they do lather very well. And then I think people get used to that amount of lather as well. They think... It does depend on your water. And it does depend how greasy how much products you have in your hair to begin with, too. I had a client talking to a few days ago, and she was saying, yeah, but your shampoo doesn't lather very well. And I said... well, it does. So I was like, so I was giving her some tips to how to, so if you want more of a lather, then you need to wash your hair, have enough water on your hair before you put the shampoo on. So that's another thing. Or you can always do a second wash, so put a little bit of shampoo on, then rinse it off and then do a second wash, then you'll get much more of a lather. Yeah, so it's a good idea to do too. Yeah. Well, sorry?
Buying more, but should you use one or two?
Personally, I only do it once. But it depends, really. It just well, exactly. I wash my hair every day, so I don't really need to. So if you are washing it less often, then you would need it to do it twice. Yeah. So about washing your hair every day. So if in this particular lady's case, when she was on the phone complaining to me about it not lathering, and it turned out that she was conditioning her hair before she put the shampoo on. So if you have like so if you have if you've got a very oily hair or scalp in the first instance, then you will need to do 2 washes to get there. But then it's kind of defeating the object if you're then washing out on the conditioner. Anyway, I've told her to follow my advice and do it my way. I said, just try it my way first, see how you get on. But that's a problem that some ladies have is because their hair is so fine that they actually don't want to condition it very much, because if they condition it too much, it looks finer. So they don't. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah.
Hairdresser last year told me to avoid any shampoos with silicone.
Mm-hmm.
What does silicone actually do to your hair?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't know exactly what it does, but it's just one of those horrible chemicals that is like, it is one of those that you have to avoid. So, yeah. So the key things to avoid would be the sulfates and the silicons and the parabens. So the parabens are actually preservatives, but you can get natural preservatives. I have natural preservatives in my shampoos. So, yeah, it's just a horrible chemical, really. It can make your hair, it's like a bit plasticky, so it can leave a coating, I think, on your hair. Yeah, I've never had any silicone. Sorry? Oh gosh, no. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. Dry shampoo is and that's a terrible thing to use dry shampoo. It's all right in emergencies. I mean, I would use it occasionally, and that's all right, and you just need to wash it out as soon as you manage to. But the problem is that a lot of people nowadays rely on dry shampoo as really the only way that they're washing their hair. Yeah, they do, yeah. Yeah.
Greasy. We were told to put talcum powder. Yes.
Oh, and then talcum powder is carcinogenic. Yeah, they banned talcum powder now. We used to, in my gynecology days, we used to see a lot, I don't think they get it so much nowadays, but used to see a lot of vulval cancer and from use of ladies putting talcum powder down there. Yeah.
So as well as obviously using the right shampoos, and you said that, you know, obviously hair loss can be caused by lots of different things. Are there certain things that you shouldn't do? Have you got any tips that is it okay to wear your hair up all the time? Or should you not wear your hair up?
No, it's good to, because remember I mentioned traction alopecia, so that can happen if you keep always putting your hair in the same place all the time. So it's good to change it a little bit. I mean, I've got a clip in my hair right now, but do you know what? It actually starts hurting after a little while, and I take it out. So
I mean, I can speak to get out of the way. So
yeah, that's okay. But if you're going to put it in a ponytail, but you're not doing it all the time, and you're leaving it down sometimes. But
actually, you can see with the gymnasts.
With what? Sorry.
The gymnasts at the Olympic Games.
Oh, right.
Just how bad some of their hair loss was, because I suppose when it's not just like a clip, it's absolutely straight back.
Yeah, like similar to what I used to do. Yeah.
With extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
should you put it up in any sort of hairband, or is there certain hairbands you use, or clips, or grips, or what? Is there something better?
Well, little old-fashioned scrunchies are the best. I love those. I've actually got some silk scrunchies. So the silk ones are fantastic because then they're not going to pull on your hair. No, is it metal? Oh, they're all right, but but if you're just doing things occasionally because you're going out, then that's all right. You just don't want to be doing it on a daily basis. If you're doing it every day, and this is something I will see, is you'll end up getting areas of thinning from putting it up in the same place all the time. And particularly metal can cause some irritation. If it's not metal, it's not too bad. But yeah, just vary how you're doing it. So where you're putting, yeah.
I was going to say, but all is not lost. We can do things that can thicken it, yes?
You can do things to thicken it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of, that's obviously, yes, 100%. And that's why I have my range of products that will help you. Yeah. So, necessarily think so, no. I mean, I don't have a...
Difference between clarifying, reconstruction, thickening.
Oh gosh, I know, right?
Can you sort of explain what each of those?
Well, I don't do all of that kind of stuff.
What's the best? What are there good things in some, bad things in another?
Yeah, I think
I know you sell things from within.
yes, no, I do. Obviously, my shampoo is a stimulating shampoo. So my shampoo is a stimulating shampoo, so it will really help to regrow your hair and invigorate your... It's got rosemary oil in it. Yeah, do a lot of people know about rosemary oil? It's crazy. I don't know how come so many people know about rosemary oil. It's been like some buzz about rosemary oil. I've been using it for years in my products, and now all of a sudden everybody just like talking about rosemary.
Why should we use it?
Why should you use it? So rosemary oil, it's very good for lots of things because it's antimicrobial, so antibacterial, anti-inflammation. It's really good for shine, but it's also because I guess they're promoting it quite a lot because it actually really helps. It stimulates your blood flow, so it can help with your hair regrowth.
So when you're washing your hair, should you be massaging the scalp?
Yeah, but don't go overboard with it. A little bit of a massage. Sometimes people do too much massaging, and you can get another thing called massage alopecia, but that's when people get obviously a bit more obsessive. You can like just keep touching the same place all the time. You're getting some regrowth and you keep touching it like all the time. Oh, I think and then it stops the regrowth coming through. Yeah, massage. You want to massage it properly, so you want to make sure you're covering all your areas, because that's another common thing is that people, when I examine their scalp, they can have like a bit of a flaky patch because that's the area that they're kind of missing when they're shampooing.
So the reason it's gone popular is it's all over TikTok.
Is that why? Because I don't do TikTok, and I'm like, why do everyone go on about rosemary oil?
Too much. I don't know, with some oils you've got to be quite careful, especially some of the essential oil type things can be quite strong.
Yes. Well, it has to be, you mustn't put it on neat. It needs...
It's a particular hair-based one, but I don't know, obviously more experts have not done too much research, but I don't know, it could be too strong. She comes out down smelling of this rosemary.
Really? She might be putting too much on. But is it just in the shampoo? If it's in a...
It's actually a treatment.
Ah.
It's all these TikTokers who use
Like I use is like hair syrup, so it's got it in it, but it's diluted.
Yeah. So I have it in my hair serum. I've got rosemary oil in there. I've got it in I've got it in my stimulating, in my sensitive scalp dandruff shampoo as well. No, never put it on neat. No, that would be bad. You might get a bit of burning or something. You very rarely do you ever want to put on essential oil neat. The only time I would do that is lavender oil if you've got a burn. That's a good tip. Bit of an aside. But lavender oil neat. Sorry? Well, that's it. That's the problem, is people don't. They neglect their scalp. And you've got to think, so the hair is growing from the follicles. So you've got to look after those follicles. The follicles are like, obviously, they're in your skin. So, and the hair roots are going below that. So you've got to really keep that nice and healthy to maximise your regrowth. Yeah, so, yes, totally. So that is one of my, that was my next tip apart from washing my hair, was the next thing was about food. And nutrition is very, very important. And it's a bit of a controversial thing, but my number one food for your hair is actually red meat. So, and the problem is that it's the trend, and it's a growing trend, that people are eating less red meat. So, no, you wouldn't. No, it's a myth. No, there's a problem. That's what people get told by their doctors, and that's why a lot of people are not eating so much red meat. Yes, it won't affect your cholesterol.
Just balancing it all.
It's balancing everything. You were perfect state, you have no laugh.
And cholesterol was very contentious anyway, because the doctors will tell you that you have a high cholesterol. It's really only the triglycerides that you need to be concerned about. So if you've got high triglycerides, so when you're doing a cholesterol test, there are different types of cholesterols, a high HDL or the LDL, but it's the triglycerides which are the damaging types of cholesterol. So those are the ones you need to, if you've just got a high LDL or a high HDL, then wouldn't worry so much, but it's the triglycerides. And it's very complex actually, because I can't remember the formula, but it's because it's quite a complex formula, but you have to like divide all the ratios, and then you can work out, well, do you really have high cholesterol or not? But the doctors don't work that out. So, sorry? They don't work, no, it's a very complex kind of ratio. No, I don't really deal with cholesterol. I know a lot about it, but I don't deal with it because for me it's not important. The only reason it would be important for me is that so many people are on statins. So people go on statins for their cholesterol, and statins will very commonly cause hair loss. So I try to avoid my clients going on statins. A minimum of 3 times a week. If for any reason you can't manage to eat it that much, some people just obviously will have objections to eating red meat or really just don't like it, then it just means you just need to supplement more. Because if you don't eat so much red meat, your iron levels are going to be low, and the iron level is really, really important for hair regrowth. So so you definitely will have lower levels than you need to for your hair, which is why I have my iron supplement, which is over here somewhere. So I've got my iron supplement, so that will really help to bring your levels up. So if you can't eat red meat 3 times a week or more, then you will need to supplement. But not just with iron, that will mean that you'll need to supplement with... No, not my iron. It does, you're right, because other irons do make your hair constipate, do make you constipated, not your hair. They do. But my iron is a very gentle formulation. It's a very highly bioavailable iron, so it just gets absorbed into your body. All iron turns your stools black. It will do that too, but it won't make you constipated. Yeah, and it's got some other ingredients in there too. But you'll also be probably quite low in B12 too. So I do have a B12 biotin and B complex supplement that you'd need too. And you would also be low in vitamin D. So vitamin D is another really important one. So for your hair.
You've got an array of different products.
Yeah.
Both supplements and also hair products.
Yes.
That will all help
Yes.
regrowth.
Yeah, exactly. So my number one product is my M&Os. So this is my foundation for everything, for getting your... So it's got 37 different nutrients in here, so it's making sure you're getting everything that you need. And it's very, very highly bioavailable ingredients and very pure. There's no fillers or bulking agents. And so if you just did one thing, just getting news will really help. And that's how I created this, was so that people could take this without having a consultation. Oh, it's capsules. I should have had one open. But they're capsules, so you've got a dual pack. So you've got purple one and a gold one. And So there's organic omegas, so the oats, so M and O's. So the M's are like for a multivitamin, but they contain far more than just a multivitamin. Got huge doses of antioxidants. Sorry? You take it with your food. Yeah, it's just like a little pill. No, this is a supplement. This is a supplement. Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, of course, you'll need to clarify. So, so you take one of each, because as I said, you've got the M's and you've got the O's, and one of each twice a day, or if you can't manage to do that, then you can take all 4 at the same time. And they're very, very powerful, and they're really good for getting regrowth, for conditioning your hair, getting better pigmentation, really good anti-aging for your skin too. Give you energy. Sorry? No, it's a supplement. You don't need to. Sorry? It's like a multivitamin, but it's not, that's why I used to call it multis and omegas, but then people just think it's just a multivitamin. But it's so much more than that. But essentially, that's what it is, like a multivitamin. You don't need to take another multivitamin if you take this one.
So it's got all the keto vitamins, K, E, D, A, right? And then all the B's.
Mm-hmm. Got everything. 37 different nutrients. And then I have the other ones that are B's, the D's, got collagen as well, and not iron, because then if you're a bit lower or if you're not eating enough red meat, then you will need to supplement with those. That's why when I do people's blood tests, I might have to recommend some other things that they need to take. Everybody also needs to take a vitamin D. It does have vitamin D in here. It does have 2,000 international units of vitamin D, but people need much higher doses of that. So I have my vitamin D supplement separately, which is 4,000 international units with K1 and 2 and zinc and magnesium in there too.
Do you have a scalp mask to put on?
I do have a hair mask. That's here somewhere. So that's my hair mask. So you can do it's good to do a weekly condition with your hair mask. Some people will use that more often. So if you can leave it on, put it on damp hair, leave it on for ideally an hour, but if you don't have an hour, just 10 minutes, and that's okay. But I'm not doing it at all. I've got some essential oils in there as well. I love essential oils. Got those in all of my products.
On a daily basis, should you also condition your hair?
Condition it?
Yeah, or just wash it?
Oh yeah, always. I would say yes, always condition. Yeah. Because I don't like when people say, oh, I don't like to condition because it goes a bit flatter, then I think it just looks dry if you don't condition it. Yeah. So I think it's better to have conditioned hair and maybe a little bit flatter than being drier. Oh yeah, and we've got discounts today, actually. So if you want to buy anything today, then everything's got 10% off. And if you wanted to book a consultation with me as well, then that's 10% off too.
What would you go through? Would you do blood tests? Would you look at diet? How would it work?
Yeah, so
what to take?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is when we sort you out getting your blood tests done before you come to see me, and you can do that, and that will save you money. But we can do, and I can write to your GP, and some people just. It depends on your GP. Some people are like, I can't get an appointment with my GP, and they just won't bother. But some people, it's very hit and miss with GPs. So some are much better than others. It just depends on the system. So you can get it done with your GP with my letter, and then I'll tell them what they need to test. Or you can get them done with me and my laboratory. And then after that, then you would also send in your completed medical history, like all your questionnaire. That I will go through beforehand, and then obviously you'd book your consultation with me. Then I will go through everything that you've written down, because people leave things out. So I need to be I have to delve into just to check there's been nothing missed out, and it happens quite frequently. And then I will examine your hair and scalp, then talk to you about your blood results. And my interpretation is really important, because a lot of people will say, well, I've been to my GP, and my GP said my bloods were fine. So your GP probably hasn't tested the right things, and also they're not interpreting it the way that I would interpret it. So they are looking at it from a completely different angle. When doctors, and I know because I used to be a nurse practitioner. I used to work in GP surgeries, and I know how they taught me how to read people's, and I used to get people ringing up for their blood results, and I know what they told me to tell people. So
when you go to the doctor, do you have to ask them for specific tests to be done on the blood? You can say, I'd like blood tests done.
well, obviously, if you book into consultation with me, then I'll give you a letter that you take to your GP, and then on that letter it says exactly what tests I want doing, because otherwise, without that, it's very rare that they would do all the right tests. Sorry?
Can you pay privately for that test?
Oh yeah, you can, but you could do that with us. You can do it privately, and we don't make anything on the blood test. Try and keep the price down as much as possible, just to. Yeah, but blood tests are very expensive. Sorry? Yeah, well, it can be a sleeker process doing it privately. Yeah. Oh yeah, we offer that. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people were just like, no, I'm not going to my GP. It's just too much hassle. Just can't.
I mean, my GP's reception check you out and put you on a list as whether or not it's a priority thing for an appointment.
Yeah.
So if I phoned up and asked for that, they'd probably say no.
Yeah, I have asked and they said no. So, yeah.
Oh, you have? You asked for blood tests for your GP? Which I said is irrelevant to your hair anyway. Yes, and so the thing is, the way that the doctors will analyse your blood results is that they literally will skim read that in like 2 seconds, if that, 1 second. And basically all they're looking at is whether the laboratory has put an asterisk or an exclamation mark by our blood results. And so what the laboratory are doing is they're looking to see if your blood results fall within their range. Now, their range is like ridiculous because the way that they set the ranges is that 90 to 90, I think it's 90%. 90% of the population have to fall within that range. So you have to be that 10% that's outside of that range before you will be flagged up as being abnormal. And the problem is that as the population is getting sicker and sicker, they're just changing the ranges. So, yeah, a little bit like that. So what I'm looking for your hair, you need to be in optimal health. That's a problem, is you might not be on your deathbed, but, well, hopefully you're not. But, it's like, I want you to be in optimal health, for your hair to be flourishing, you need to be in optimal health. So that's what I'm looking to do. Sorry? Yeah, so it depends really on the age. What was the one you said before, calcium? Yeah, so we'll look at some of the nutrients and hormones and thyroid. Yeah, I do look at that too. That's very important. Yeah, so that's a good point actually, because one of the other things is that when people come to see me for their hair, I could be the first person that will identify that, okay, you're like pre-diabetic and which is easy to treat with your diet. And I could like identify a thyroid problem, or sometimes it could be like a pituitary tumour. So that you could find from a higher prolactin level. And GPs never like to do prolactin levels because they're like, why would you do that on a menopausal lady? Or, the full blood count, some ferritin, vitamin D, B12, So those are my key ones, and the ones that why I have those supplements specifically for those, because those are the ones that we really need to be getting your levels up. Yeah.
Results, I don't know. But by using just the shampoo and the conditioner, or do you have to have the whole package, all your vitamins, everything?
Ideally, you need to, yes. Yeah. The most important thing, obviously everybody needs a shampoo and conditioner, so you might as well start and get one that's going to be good. And but the most important thing will be getting the M&Os and then and the vitamin D. I do have a collagen as well, which is collagen's very popular. This one. So collagen's very popular because a lot of ladies are taking collagen anyway, and this one's specifically for your hair and for female pattern hair loss. So obviously it'll help with your skin too. But
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Today.
Yes.
And,